So please don't climb the ladders or jump up on the beds or any of the stuff like that, because we set it up specifically for actors. There's certain ways of going up and down the ladders, and we don't want you to get hurt. Part of my thing is about, as far as if somebody gets hurt, we will bury a body out back. And we are nice enough to hit you with the shovel before we put dirt over your face. So that's kind of my disclaimer for
I
that.
have an immediate question.
Yes, sir.
I've been here before. Now, what we're hearing, the engine sounds, you guys have added the SSLS?
Yeah, but right now today, we're playing the different sounds. It wouldn't normally be on during production.
Right,
But we're just,
right.
It's for atmosphere.
Yeah,
So-
that's cool.
Yeah, you're gonna hear some around the other sounds around the ship, so that's
That's cool.
So, this is one of the last major sets we built. This was actually built in 2015. Originally, when we got the sets, we were all on that other side of the wall. This side of the wall was a church. It was a church for about 6 months. They moved out. After they moved out, we kind of squatted over here during productions and expanded and used the space. Every time production was over, we had to screw it back across the other side of the wall. Well, then when Farragut was the original ship down in St. Mary's, they had partnered with Star Trek Continues when we moved into this building. After they decided to split from each other, Star Trek Continues decided to rent this half of the building, so then we could permanently move to this side. Well, while they were in production, they ended up doing 3 shorts and 11 episodes. We were able to create post-production areas. We created the engine room, and we also have a planet set. The planet set was in their last 3 episodes, 9, 10, and 11. And then when they gave up their production, when they finished their production, we actually had to tear up the planet set. So that's one set that no longer exists. They ended up putting an egg roll factory here, but they were nice enough to let us keep the engine room, so they kind of built around us. So there's egg roll factory on that side of the wall. There's egg roll factory on this side. So if you smell egg rolls and you get hungry, not my fault. But we also hear the possibility the egg roll factory may be moving sometime in the near future, so maybe we might get this half of the building back and be able to do some more stuff on this side. Little history here with the engine room. There are other sets around the country. I tend to not mention them. They do their thing, however they want to do it, but I don't know them, so I don't say anything good or bad about them. But the one thing I can say, other ones do have engine rooms, but they're not as tall as ours. We're the only one that actually did the ceiling and made it to 2 stories, where the other ones are smaller and the way they display. When we were building the ceiling, if you look at it, looks pretty cool. It's actually made out of foam. We figured out that when we tried to build it out of wood, it was really heavy, and there was a hard time to be able to get it up there and be able to support it. So I'd heard about a foam guy down in Jacksonville that had an AutoCAD machine. Basically, he could sculpt anything out of foam that as long as you gave him a 3D picture. So what he did was he cut all the pieces, and we were able to glue them together and be able to make the ceiling, made it much lighter to be able to put up. So if you look at this end, you can actually see that it's tied up by about 5 or 6 ropes, actually hold this end up, and then the other end has to be screwed in there. So that's kind of that movie magic thing, that even though you didn't see the ceiling a whole lot, that if we did shine up there, it would at least look like it was a real instrument.
Speaking of movie magic, I saw the external sets in the last 3 episodes, and I thought, man, that's much larger than I expected. And then I saw a still out, and I was like, oh, okay, a lot of that's green screen.
Yeah, well, we did have some green screen up at the back.
Yeah.
And then the other was we had backdrops.
Yeah, but it looked perfect. The green screen looked, how can I put it, perfectly fake.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Along with this, building the warp core, we actually used a technique called force perspective. Makes it look like that it's longer than it's supposed to be. On camera, that gives it that 30 to 40 foot depth. It's actually only about 12 feet.
Close one eye and you can really see it.
If you go to if you could get to it, it's hard to get to now, but if you were actually at the back of the warp core looking out, all those pieces would all look the same size. And that's one thing that's kind of cool that they end up doing with the movie magic. Once again, part of it is made out of foam. Got that from the foam guy. All these other pieces that are up on the wall, those were also recreations. back in the 60s, when Star Trek was looking for things, the set designers actually did a lot of dumpster diving at night. They just wanted to find anything that was cheap and cool that looked futuristic. So a lot of these things that are on the side of the wall were actually packing material that they fished out of dumpsters. Of course, we can't get that material now, so we had to get that foam guy to cut that out. The two that are up on this side we use as an example. How many people have heard of IBM Selectric typewriters? You can't find those anymore, and you especially can't find their packing material. So that was one thing we had to recreate, because that's what they had originally used. So it gives it that look, just like the original. Same thing with that little thing sticking out of the wall, nobody knows what it's for. It's made out of foam. Even the tops of these are actually out of foam, but because people would be touching them, we had to put a special coating over the top so that it didn't leave fingerprints. But it made it a lot easier than trying to find a trash can lid that looked like that and cut off the handles and stuff like that. You'll see around the ship this this steel mesh, I guess you could call it, very heavy. Was actually the type that was on the ship. But anybody want to take a guess of what it's used for now, besides you? Because it's a regular manufactured item that you can buy off the internet. It's actually used when they made concrete culverts. They used it almost like rebar, because it was bendable. So they could stick that in the concrete, and that way it would keep the reinforcement of the concrete. They were also, I believe, used in columns and things like that too. Anybody have any questions so far?
Is this where the dynamic crystals are supposed to be?
That's where it's supposed to be.
Does that come up, or does it?
It has the capability of coming up. Right now, ours happens to be, have some mechanical issues. So it's hiding down there right now.
I knew.
I know, you just want to lift it up, say.
I know, I didn't want to touch it.
Yeah,
The
no,
original
of course.
series, though, it depends on the episode.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
Because it had them up there and it had them over here.
Well, sometimes they would show the duplicate Enterprise or something, and it had balls of this
Yeah.
little variation, so you know it was a different ship.
Yeah. Now, one thing, you happen to mention the balls. You see, we've got these nice shiny little globes
Yeah.
here. Ray actually picked those up after the production. Those weren't actually in Star Trek Continues. Star Trek Continues actually used this. Just a plain old ball. Here we can be going. It worked out good for the series. After a while, though, as you notice, you have to end up repainting it. And then another problem is, especially with this Georgia E, they tend to get smaller. So you have to periodically pump them up and try to get them all the same size. So that was kind of an issue we had to deal with throughout the series. But in the original series, they used a ball. And I guess the understanding is William Shatner loved to play with these whenever he came in engineering. Always made the prop guys mad because he'd come in and he'd be playing soccer, kicking them around. And they're like, no, that's part of the set. Stop kicking our balls. So that was one thing that's been talked about with him.
Was Vic better behaved?
Yes, because Vic was paying for it, so he knew not to take them off. Well, I think he did it initially. We did actually have two different sets, so yeah, he was much better with it.
Now, is that supposed to be a tool in that box? And I remember seeing an episode where Scotty takes that out, and
Yeah,
there's supposed to be like a light tool in there.
It was just, actually, that was just something we stuck up there to cover the hole.
Oh,
When they made this the egg roll factory, the engineering had actually gone a little bit further over here. We also used that as a conference room.
yeah, but
They
there's.
kind of tore it down and kind of tore it up. So I can't remember what we had originally had over the hole. And so when we started opening the studio back up, I
That
just
little
had to-
handle really is part of the set. because-
Yeah, I think it is. I think
They
it
put
was
out-
that they were supposed to open it up.
Yeah, I think Duty survives, I think that's what it is, and he's gonna go check some equipment.
Okay, we'll move on down.